Hi, it's Tenma here, and I'm here to talk more about things I liked in seasons I didn't like. And last video series was on Wild Force. Kind of chopped it off into different parts there, and probably going to do another big go around and chop up into different parts. I'm going to put two seasons together. And that's because I really don't have much good things to say about them. Unlike Wild Force, that I felt like had some very interesting, neat ideas, it just was executed in a particularly season. These two, they kind of don't have much to recommend for them. One of them, I feel like the only reason why I would recommend somebody to watch it is because you're going to be watching in space afterwards, and those two are fairly connected through the cast of characters. And of course I'm talking about Turbo there. And, which is one of the good things I liked about Turbo, was the cast. But it's so funny, it's like I want to say all these good things about these characters, except that most of the really awesome character development moments are in space. So, but there was some good moments with that cast. And, it was the first time they had an African-American leader for the Power Rangers. And last time in Saban era, boy, that's a can of worms I might be getting into for a more serious topic, which is diversity in Power Rangers, particularly with the Red Ranger, and how that's kind of funny. And by funny, I mean kind of sad. But, he was the first to come along, and you know, he did a pretty good job. I think he did a better leader job though in space than he did in Turbo. I love TJ. And like I said, it's like I want to talk about these characters and all their good moments, but again, their good moments are in a better season. There's Justin, and Justin gets a lot of hate thrown at him, and that's because he's a kid. You know, let's face it, he's a kid, and some people, their two reactions to kids is being maternal and wanting to hug them, or please get the fuck out of my series, you're a fucking kid. And most people have the latter reaction to Justin. Though I'm starting to see that a lot of older people that go back and watch Turbo, they tend to have a little bit of the more maternal feelings. But Justin wasn't the worst kid character I've ever seen. Excuse me. He's certainly no Clementine. I don't think any kid character can be Clementine from the Walking Dead video games. Excuse me again. He's certainly no Clem. But he's not... I say this with someone who's neutral on Wesley Crusher. He's no Wesley Crusher. So... They actually made a smart character for once that you could actually follow, as opposed to when they first wrote Billy, they really made some weird logic trains to where, you know, how he was connecting all the dots, mixed with, you know, the Billy speak, which was basically, let's put a bunch of SAT words together to make him sound really smart when he's saying really something really simple as, I like this tune. Smart people don't talk like Billy. And once they got a little bit away from that, Billy started to become much less of that stereotype and more of a smart character and everything. Justin, however, he starts off like that right off the bat. You know, he's pretty competent for a 12-year-old kid. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. It's like, he's 12, of course he acts like a brat. You know, when you're a teenager, that's when you get enough life experience and everything that you start separating your identity from your parents, and there's rebellion and all that. This is a talked about, you know, thing in development. But, you know, you still don't have too much life experience to process everything. And you're still processing it. So it's at a very weird age. So of course you're going to be a little bit like a brat. And so yeah, he was. And you know, what kid doesn't want his father to be around? You know, he was very close to his dad. And you know, his dad had to travel on a business. I identified with that as a kid. My parents, both of them had jobs where they were out of town a lot. And sometimes I would wake up crying in the middle of the night for one of them because they weren't there. And it's actually one of the reasons why, you know, after doing a traveling job for so long, my dad actually decided to be a stay-at-home dad. He still worked, but he was a home office body. You know, he worked at home when he was, when I was like, almost about Justin's age, about 10 or 8, he decided, you know, 8 to 10, he decided, I'm going to stay home. But, you know, having a parent away, you know, that can hurt you. And, you know, and not only that, but they actually, you know, made it seem, you know, he was alienated from his peers because, you know, he was a new kid and he was so smart. So, you know, and they just lobbed him into, you know, high school. It's like, oh, you're going to the high school now. So, you know, he's a 12-year-old kid around people who are like 15 to 18 years old. And, you know, the people he hangs out with are high school graduates. So, you know, you see him feel alienated from his peer group and everything. So, you know, as much as a lot of people don't like Justin, he was well executed. Does that mean that, you know, you can like him as a character? Oh, no. I think from Mass Effect, which not Paragon Lost, but from Mass Effect, I think Jack is a terrible, horrible human being. In fact, Frog and I recently did a test, I forgot what it's called, but it's the test, you know, the sociopath checklist. She's a high number on being a sociopath, not sociopath, but a psychopath. This woman is a murdering psychopath, as essentially a horrible human being. I love her as a character. I find her a very intriguing, awesome character, and it's great, and she was well executed. Mine is Mass Effect 3, but that's another thing entirely. But that's my point, is you don't have to like that character to acknowledge that they're pretty well executed. And you may debate me on this, and that's cool, but that is my points on that. You actually see, you know, the pressure, the social pressures of, you know, being a child prodigy on Justin. And how, you know, how that's a great thing at some points. You know, he's really, you know, he's good at solving things, and you can see how he puts it together. And then, you know, how it drives, you know, his, you know, inventions and everything. But at the same time, you see how that alienates him in some of the episodes. And how he sometimes also feels alienated from the group because he's a lot younger. And here they're high schoolers, and they're, you know, and they feel like they're treating him like a kid brother instead of one of their own. And it you know, that character growth, it's a very nice thing. And like I said, I can probably talk about how awesome Cassie and Carlos and TJ and Ashley are if I were to talk about In Space. But as of talking of Turbo, you know, that was them kind of feeling their way, you know, around the characters, and the writers and actors feeling their way around these characters, and just trying to find stuff that really sticks to them. And overall, so, you know, that was neat. Also, the first time they actually did the Caucasian female as the Yellow Ranger, because before that, they actually, the Yellow Ranger was almost always a person of color, and the Pink Ranger was always Caucasian. So, you know, they flipped that around on Turbo, and has since they play with back and forthing that, which is, you know, a nice thing. Not exactly, you know, the Red Ranger thing, but it's an interesting note to point out with that season. And also Ashley is fairly girly girl. But, you know, so is Cassie. They don't do the tomboy, girly girl dichotomy that they kind of did with previous seasons. I mean, it wasn't fully there, but kind of was implied, you know, with the Pink Ranger being really girly. But, you know, this time it's like the Yellow Ranger and the Pink Ranger both kind of share being particularly very girly and feminine. So there's that. And then I'll talk about Diva Talks, which is actually, you know, kind of an unpopular opinion, but one of the things I do like about the season. And that is Diva Talks. I liked Carol's interpretation of Diva Talks better than I liked Hillary's. but it's very funny. And real quick, to kind of go over Turbo as a humor series. I know, I love doing my points like this, but before I really touch on that, I should go over Turbo hitting its stride. And it hit its stride, like, I'd say sometime after they got the new Rangers in. And when it finally clicked on them, let's not make this serious, let's make this a humor series. And by making it a humor series, they were allowed to really get away with a lot more of the really weird stuff that happened in Car Ranger. Because, like, being baked into a pizza. Among other fun things about Car Ranger. But, you know, allowed them to kind of be a little bit more goofy. So, you know, they went and did serious storylines every now and then, but for the most part, they mostly tried being goofy and being a humor season. And Diva Talks fits within that. Unfortunately, because the two interpretations of the characters are so weirdly, like, they're the same. Diva Talks is a crazy person. I shouldn't say crazy, but, you know, she's a cuckoo lander. And that goes with her villain persona, but they played her cuckoo lander so differently. You know, Hillary went full cuckoo lander bananas with Diva Talks. Whereas Carol kind of had that bit of competence to her. Like, you understand why she's a pirate captain, but then when she would do cuckoo bananas things, you're like, okay, yeah, you're crazy. So yeah, there's that, and but that's how I feel. It's like I kind of like that slight edge of confidence to her versus the just over the topness. And you know, I honestly think that when they fit, but this is funny, when they got the tone for Turbo, which was humorous, I feel like Hillary's Diva Talks makes more sense for the series. But again, you know, because you had these wild two interpretations, Diva Talks kind of just suddenly flips personality. Like, she kind of goes from being a little bit cold and calculated, but being kind of do to just being do all the time. So you know, you have that problem, and it's not to say that both of them were terrible actresses. They both did a fantastic job. It's just I happen to like one interpretation over the other. And but you know, even still, you know, really off ending, you know, with Diva Talks just taking over, doing the all your base must belong to us thing. I'm like, okay, that would have been more fitting with Zio, but whatever. That's most of the good I can say for Turbo is, you know, again, they had a really interesting cast, but you know, a lot of their really good things kind of more came from in space. Like when I really went to think of, oh, this is a great thing about their character, except it was explored in space, you know. But they, you know, they had a good proto start to these characters, and proto start. What does proto mean? Haha. You know, they had a good start to these characters, so you know, that's where it kind of comes from, and yeah, that's what good I can say for Turbo is, you know, once it hits its stride, it's not the best, not the greatest, not the worst, but a decent humor season. Once it hits its stride, and definitely not the worst season I've seen, and that unfortunately goes to what I'm about to talk about next.